This is Whitley Strieber, and you're listening to My Alien Life.
The alien part is a little bit difficult to describe, and that's been one of the biggest foibles, I guess is the right word, in my mission. People are expecting a spaceship. There's no like big metal spaceship. Okay, now we had a flotilla, like a fleet. You guys know that as the New Jerusalem mothership that arrived in 1993, and that wasn't a ship. That was a fleet. If you look at the photographs, you'll notice that it when you sort of blow it up a little bit, you can see it's made of a bunch of spheres. Each sphere is an individual ship. So I figured I'd be a smart aleck and hop right into a body rather than go through the incarnation cycle. I am not a body snatcher. The love and light crowd, the spirituality crowd, they like to talk about a place called the waiting room, where essentially mothers accept the spirits of the children that they're going to bear. That's where I went. I didn't snatch anything. I waited for a human who would be happy to have a starseed.
My Alien Life is recorded high atop the Northern Rocky Mountains and is heard all over the world, and you can listen everywhere fine podcasts are found. My website is www.myalienlifepodcast.com. There you'll find links to every episode, stories, photos, and much more. I'm your host, Cam Logan. This is My Alien Life, and the podcast starts right now.
My Alien Life Podcast.
Three, two.
And I'm with my friend Cassidae Lightwing, who, well, I want to say I don't like to use the word alien because it's
not really very apt.
No, but it sounds so alien. It sounds so odd. Because
Yeah.
How often do people get to say that? I mean, I want to say, here's my alien friend. And if you were with me, if we were like, where you're in Denver, and if I was there, I would say that. But the circumstances are different, and we'd probably be out having a load of fun and a good time. But I want to welcome you tonight. I follow you on Facebook, and I know your life hasn't been easy for like the almost 3 years that I've known you. I think it's been about that long.
Yeah, we met during a bit of a crisis.
But
it's much better now.
It is, okay. But it sort of was, for a while, crisis atop crisis, sandwiched in and then deep fried in crisis with crisis gravy, literally.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that first because I think it's very important. You have some things going on, and I've been reading about it, but I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it. I'd like to know, and I think everybody else would too. So the floor is yours, and thanks for joining me, and welcome.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. So I'd like to... Should I go?
Yeah, you're on, man.
Okay. Sorry, I get...
See,
so
that's,
I'd like to talk
that's where I'm on video. You're seeing me doing things you don't even know. You don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to try to distract you the best I can. But go.
Gotcha. Good. So I would like to talk to you guys for a minute about my daughter. My daughter, I was sort of hoping that her story would sort of unfold as her life unfolded, but things have gone bad. The important thing for the purposes of this is that my daughter is proof of hope. Shar is half human. She's half your species, half mine. She's proof that our species are compatible. She's proof that we are one, basically. So, alien doesn't quite apply, especially given the way my people travel around the world. World being, bigger than this planet. So Shar she's amazing. Her IQ is off the chart. She's a wonderful little girl, and she can do most of the things I can do with a touch. She's proof that humans are compatible with our technology. I mean, if we're correct, you shared it too a long time ago. Now, unfortunately, due to the aforementioned crisis, it created a problem in her heart, basically adrenaline poisoning. So she doesn't have a whole lot longer left. But basically, before she goes, it's time for people to know that hope is coming, possibly even here already. I'm not the only one by the long shot. I mean, government officials around the world are saying they're here. They look just like us. They've been here for a while. And yes, it's true. We are here. There have been developments lately that are making disclosure more and more likely by the day. And the disclosure is going to be pretty complete. I'm not talking about the UAP report. That was so disappointing. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, it's not like we're not asking for help or money or anything like that, despite the nasty rumors. But she's here. There are others. Okay. And if Shar can prove that our species are compatible, then what else is possible? There's Pleiadians, there's Arcturians. I mean, there's species that have no name here. And this is the proof that this planet needs that our species are one. I think. Or at least evidence of. Bottom line is that my people's chromosomes and your people's chromosomes, simpatico. You see? Shar is one of 3 children of mine. All 3 of them are just absolutely amazing. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That your children are the future. Your children are going to be coming into contact with things that will boggle your mind. So please treat them as the treasures they are. And that's all I got to say about that. Religious persecution is the culprit here. I'm not blaming religions. I've made some pretty bad decisions. I'm a bit of a jerk. I tend to make people angry. But it just goes to show that the idea that, for example, the United States and the United Kingdom and other places where we have freedom of ideals, freedom of thought, freedom to be the individual that we want to be, that we need to be. This is a sacred thing. Okay, we can't. What's happened to my family should stop. That's all I'm saying. If you have what you believe is some sort of salvation, that's great. That doesn't mean you should be hurting other people. And quite frankly, if this is the best your people have to show, luckily, that's not the only thing. But that's part of what I wanted to talk about today, is that one of the things that people need to start understanding is that they're okay. All around the world, I see in news boards all the time, humans suck, humans this, humans that, aliens, why would they ever want to talk to us? And the fact is, because we love you. We're brothers. Imagine you came home after a long time away and to find your home ransacked and your brother broken and beaten on the floor. What would you do? Well, we are lions. We are pride animals. We're showing you what we're going to do about it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about Shar. She is a symbol for hope. She is proof of hope. And she's also proof of why we have to live and let live.
I was thinking that she was on a transplant list.
She is, but she was, but she got taken off due to the aforementioned religious harassment. I was born here on this planet in Denver, Colorado, 1978, into a family of Jehovah's Witnesses. When I left the family of Jehovah's Witnesses, they did what Jehovah's Witnesses do. And since transplants are against their religion, if Shar gets a transplant, it shames them. So of course they have to interfere. So it's just been, and that's where the crises come from. Essentially, everyone knows once you fall down, it's hard to get back up. Now imagine trying to get back up with an entire religion against you. And that's what we've been facing. But we did it, never gave up, never surrendered. So.
But then how did she, I don't understand how she got off that list. Because the last thing that I read about her was that she was on the list, and I was kind of filled with hope and hoping for even better news.
Yeah, so did we.
So
what happened was the Jehovah's Witnesses got in contact with a few rival channels whose names I'm not going to mention for legal purposes. And the rival psychic channels basically decimated us. They started spreading rumors around the internet that I'm beating my wife, and way, way worse that I don't think I should repeat on your show, unless you want to bleep it out later or whatever. But
I don't know a bleeper, but you can talk about whatever you want.
Okay, let's so for example, in one case, this group and mind you, this is all just it should have just stayed as sniping back and forth. But when they're starting to spread around rumors like I'm psychically raping humans, et cetera, in large enough numbers, this gets back to the transplant team, who's watching everything. They watch the show. They watch everything we do on the internet and off the internet. That's what they have to do when you're on the transplant, because literally anything could be vital. So the transplant team's going on and seeing these terrible things being said about us, and they also see that we've lost all of our income because of these things. So essentially, we no longer have an income, and these rumors are flying around that must be answered, because these are severe things, so they must be answered. And there are two major requirements for families on the heart transplant list that nobody ever tells you about. You have to be able to maintain a stable home, and you have to be able to maintain an income. This destroyed both. So yeah. Included amongst the rumors that were going around is that we're faking Shar's heart condition for money. And it's like, how does a heart condition give you money on this world? I don't understand this.
I've seen her in the hospital many times.
Yeah. At one point, just like last week, they offered to let all the harassment stop if we would release Shar's personal medical files. And that's how far it's gone. So it's just, I didn't want to pick on anyone in particular. And if anyone knows how they can help, that would be great. I don't understand this planet at all. I thought you go to the doctor and they make it better, and that doesn't happen. Now there's money involved in politics. For example, when we first got here to Colorado, the very first thing they did was put us in the legal system for not educating our children because our race read Native American. And Shar taught herself astronomy at age 6. So, it's a nasty stereotype, and I don't understand how human society is fun. How did you guys get this far like this? I don't understand. I really don't. I've been here 40 years and I still don't get it.
It's been 3 million years of comedy, of errors, really. It's like, yeah. It's our manly ability and urge to procreate. I think that was 90% of it. And then 10% luck, maybe. But, our luck, I think our luck's running out, but that's my opinion.
I wouldn't call what's happening right now luck. This is direct psychic, psionic, however you want to call it, energetic. You can look at the Schumann resonance and examine the radiation readings from the satellites. This is a direct energetic attack. It's just that People expect laser beams and explosions, and that's not how these people work. Okay, they target the mitochondria. And once you've targeted the mitochondria and you can figure out exactly what frequencies tell a particular body's mitochondria what to do, you've got them by the cojones. At that point, all you've got left is absolute will. Absolute will. If all your mitochondria are screaming, kill that guy over there, you have to will yourself out of that fight or flight response. So the red sphere beings are counting on humans not being able to do that. My people believe better.
So I don't remember quite how I encountered you, but I think I would be wherever, and it was like 10:30 my time, 11 o'clock in the morning. You're doing your show. I'd stumble across that, and there was a few, in the nation, and I love the live part of Facebook, so I would check that out, and I got in the habit of almost like swinging across the radio dial, man, just watching all these people in the morning, and one of them was you, and there was a lot of interesting stuff, but one of the things that impressed me, and I want you to explain your show in a minute, but one of the things was that impressed me, it's just you, and when it is just you could sit there and talk for 2 hours. And you could do that 7 days a week.
Yeah,
it is 7 days a week, right? I mean, it was 7 days a week. I mean,
3 shows a day, 7 days a week.
That's fucking crazy. I can't even believe that. And you never ran out of things to say.
There's too much to say.
I mean,
it's huge subjects.
Right. But that's very impressive. So just tell people, go into a little bit of history. Just go back 3 years and what they would have heard then and what they hear now, and what it's been like, and how that has changed, or has it changed, and what's the show like now, and what was it like then?
Well, back then it was pretty raw. I cussed a lot. My communication skills were not so good. Please understand, folks, I had just been injured very, very, very badly, and was still kind of not quite here, plus all the pain. So since then, as the injury has been healing, I've been getting more collected. So the show is essentially, the morning coffee show is just about whatever is going on in the world, plus, so for example, if there's a new Star Wars movie coming out, that's what we're talking about. And then inevitably people start asking questions like, hey, what about the Pleiadians? Hey, what's going on with here? Have you seen the Nazca mummies? Things like that. So we start off, normally, we start off talking about whatever we have planned, current events or, nerd culture, whatever's going on. And then we let the audience take it from there.
Do you have a plan, though? I mean, when you start out in the morning, you have a...
Yeah.
Do you have a set list or something?
Yeah. Actually, it's just right here on the thing. It's not always appropriate to talk about some of the show we have planned, because, for example, like in current events, there's something going on in Paris, right? So I would have to talk about that. That's a pretty big thing. Well, not just in Paris, but in France. So we have like a series syllabus, because big nerd. So I designed it in terms of seasons.
Yeah.
The trick is, a lot of the stuff that I have to talk about is like, I don't want to say like next level science stuff, because it's almost not even science. It's metaphysics at best. But in order to get into a lot of this other things, you have to start at the beginning over here. Like, for example, the core nature of the multiverse, versus the molecular nature that physicists believe in. Now, I'm not saying that the molecular physics are wrong at all. It's just that there's also quantum physics and macro physics. And then, so if right here is regular physics that humans are used to, there's like boop, 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 boop. It goes in both directions more or less infinitely. So trying to describe the multiverse with one set of physics is very, 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 very difficult. But I try. So to get people to understand, for example, that you interface with some of this technology via hyperspatial geometric shapes, that sounds like magic. It's like, so what are you casting spells? No, it's technology. You see? So basically it's all set up so that each lesson builds upon the lesson before. So that over time, over the time, it sort of becomes more clear in the macro sense, and that when humans watch, they can sort of remember what's going on rather than being told. One of the things that I point out on the show quite frequently is like, you know how you didn't know that a minute ago, and I told you, you know that sensation you're feeling in your head. You notice you're remembering, you're not learning, and people go, oh, how do you know that? Because I'm smart. Been doing this a while.
And you're like 6'8", right?
Oh, I wish that would be so cool.
Oh, no, you're a tall guy.
Sick.
What are you?
I was 6'5.5" before the injury.
Okay.
My vertebrae have lost a lot of moisture, so I compressed a little bit. But I was 6'5.5" before the injury. That says so on my driver's license too. Aha.
But it's hard to, you seeing you on Facebook Live. It's hard to get a scale, but you're a big dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that helps basically when I'm talking to people in person, because they're looking up and they can smell me, which that was not a BO comment, but they can smell my pheromones. They can tell I'm different. It's online. It's hard because I could be acting, I could be it could be all sorts of stuff, but that's the purpose of doing the really long live shows. At some point, if I'm making this up, at some point I'm going to contradict myself. But I haven't yet, so.
Well, that's actually, I was going to say that, and you're different, and I don't even know why, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, because I've got to see you a lot and observe you a lot, listen to you a lot, and you've posted pictures of yourself, and the picture that I've posted all week, or the last few days rather.
I like that.
You look like a time traveler. I don't know. It's not like anybody I've ever seen before. Of course, we're full of, we have a world of that, but you're very, very different. You're right. You don't contradict yourself, and I've never actually listened to try to hear you trip up. It's just that I'm astounded that you just go and you don't stop. You're lighting cigarettes and you're doing the whole thing. He smokes a lot, and I
do.
So you don't miss a beat, and so yeah, you get it done. And you got a lot to say, and over the years, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt what you claim and what you say, and
Thank you.
You bring up stuff that is pretty amazing, and you provide a lot of insight. And I don't know if you know a lot about everything, or if you know a little bit about a lot of things. Because people can get by either way, and either way, it's fine and it's good. But there's some knowledge there, and I know you read a lot of books.
I read pretty much constantly when I can. I'm one of those people that watches documentaries about ants for the fun of it. I do giant dork. So, well, like I said, there's a lot to say. There's a lot that has to be covered, and only a few months left. And I failed to get to Egypt. I failed to reestablish the grid. I failed my mission, And it's nobody's fault but mine. I'm not blaming anybody.
So start at the beginning. When you were here, how are you an alien? What's the Native American relationship? And so basically start with who you are and go back as far as you can.
Okay. Well, the alien part is a little bit difficult to describe, and that's been one of the biggest foibles, I guess is the right word, in my mission. People are expecting a spaceship. There's no big metal spaceship. Okay, now we had a flotilla, like a fleet, You guys know that as the New Jerusalem mothership that arrived in 1993, and that wasn't a ship; that was a fleet. That if you look at the photographs, you'll notice that it when you sort of blow it up a little bit, you can see it's made of a bunch of spheres. Each sphere is an individual ship. Okay, but again, our technology is based off of consciousness, gravity, light, sound, things like that. So we don't travel around in big metal spaceships like the Arcturians and the Pleiadians do. So when we arrive, it's purely consciousness. This has been the way it's been for literally billions of years within this galaxy. As soon as a race begins to wonder about the stars or about life or about the dirt, basically anything beyond themselves. I'm not talking about like mindless worship, like, ooh, fire burns, so we better worship it. I'm talking about like, hey, I wonder what that really is up there. What's going on? This affects a chemical reaction with the brain that has a lot to do with hormones governing faith, but that's not the issue we're talking about. What this does is it lights up your pineal gland like a Christmas tree, right? Now, a lot of you guys already know that your pineal gland is the gateway to your third eye. Okay, so once the pineal gland starts to light up, you begin to see the other species that are out there. There are many layers of physics in this universe, not just the molecular ones you're used to. You might have heard of like the astral plane or the ethereal plane or the dream time. There's many, many names for the worlds that are accessed via the pineal gland. My species are one of the denizens of those worlds. We live in an energetic universe rather than a physical one. So, how that gets in contact with the Native Americans? I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard the Native Americans have a very, very, very long history with, quote, the Star People, specifically the Pleiadians. Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Many of the indigenous peoples on this planet have been contacted by one race or another. For example, the Dogon people are very deeply related to a biological alien race you might call a Nomo, which are more or less, amphibious. So they have a deep relation to the Nomo. Now on the other side of the pond here, you got your Native Americans, your Anasazi and whatnot. They have a deep relationship with the Pleiadians, as well as some other, sapient terrestrial races. But that's neither here nor there right now. So these tribes that were able to contact other psychoactive races with, their rituals, their shamanisms, their dreams, their ayahuascas and their DMTs and their mushrooms and their whatever, right? This puts them in contact with every other sapient race, and this is how contact begins. Okay? What's happening now with the Great Awakening is we're calling it second contact because basically this was attempted a while ago. It just fell flat on its face. And then along comes Aleister Crowley getting in contact with the whoever race. I don't know who Lem is, but whoever he contacted, they taught him how to open the shields at the edge of the solar system. A lot of people think that humans are imprisoned here. There's a big grid that keeps us prisoned. It does not keep humans in. It keeps them out. So once Aleister Crowley opened that, it was open season. And anybody can see the statistics on the UFOs and contacts after Crowley's contact with Lem. It shoots way up, and then you get to Roswell, and it goes up again, right? So, indigenous peoples all around the world were in contact with it with various races long time ago, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Now, this left certain genomes in the species. Now, everybody knows humans have 23 chromosomes. What they don't know, what a lot of people don't realize is there's actually a 24th chromosome that's considered junk. In starseeds and other types of consciousness travelers, it's not junk. And that is the proof in why SHAR is so important. Because with SHAR, they tracked it, they have it, it's mapped now. And what they've discovered now that they were able to basically study Shar's body and her DNA is that it's the same gene that was carried by Akhenaten thousands of years ago. So this has been around a long long time, since way before my people showed up in 1993. So that brings us to 1993.
So yeah. Did you show up in 1993?
Yes, I did. In 1993, we arrived. We were shuttled more or less directly from Malaqua. We were basically the last people off the planet before it blew. I had tried to stay behind. I wanted to die with my mother, but I was grabbed, shoved into a. Here we are. So in 1993, when we were attacked, a lot of us died, and I decided to be a smart aleck and find a body to sit in instead of dying properly like I'm supposed to. So I screwed up. I basically.
You mean you chose the wrong body, or you just screwed up finding
No, I chose the wrong path.
Okay.
Basically, when you die within the biosphere of another world, you become part of that world's incarnation cycle. This is known. So my brothers and sisters that were killed in 1993, this was a joyous thing because that means they get starseeds. Hey, that's the mission, right? So I figured basically there's a force that human scientists call entropy. For us, it has a very, 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 very great effect on our physical bodies or quantus bodies, whatever you want to call it. Humans, entropy is a kind of a nebulous thing, but for an energetic species, entropy is like a hurricane. So when our energetic bodies are destroyed in this world, we have a problem. So I figured I'd be a smart aleck and hop right into a body rather than go through the incarnation cycle. Yep. Big mistake. I wish I'd never done that.
So you're a body snatcher.
I am not a body snatcher.
So,
I've been asked that a couple of times.
Clarify.
All right. The love and light crowd, the spirituality crowd, they like to talk about a place called the waiting room, where essentially mothers accept the spirits of the children that they're going to bear. That's where I went. I didn't snatch anything. I waited for a human who would be happy to have a starseed. And that's my mom all the way. I mean, Laverne, she had Karen Carpenter's Welcome to Visitors from Other Planets, whatever that song's called, playing while I was being born. Starman was her favorite movie. She was a big hippie, the whole 9 yards. So when we met, she was like, yes, I will be your mama. And I was like, thank you. And the thing is, my mom, like to this day, she remembers that. She remembers the whole thing. She thought it was a wacky dream, and then now she's seeing my shows, and she's like, so you remember this too? And I'm like, yes, I do.
So how did you show up with her?
What do you mean?
I mean, with your mom. I mean, how did you, with your, you're talking about a separate mom, an Earth mom, and then you had your.
Yeah.
Okay. So
my feline mother back on Malaqua, you have to understand, back on Malaqua, there's an understanding of the separation of body and spirit. So your physical mother could be your physical mom. You're going to love her and all. She's going to love you and all that stuff. But as a person begins to get older, they begin to remember their past lives and they rejoin their old life. And that's one of the things that makes it so different. Like, for example, when it comes to violence back on Malaqua, say, for example, me and Bob over there got into a knockdown drag out and one of us died. 6 years later, we'd be like, hey, how you doing? Enjoy your rest, you little dude. And then the rivalry continues. So it's just, but back home, these rivalries are play. They're not like mortal. You guys take death so seriously here. And I'm starting to understand why, So when a species has the capability of remembering their incarnations, things like death and war and conflict take on radically different meanings. So that's the one you could say that's one of those things that we overcame as we grew up, is the need to harm one another. Guys, I'm live.
He smokes.
Yeah,
he smokes and he drinks a lot of power drinks, and
it's not the power drinks specifically. It's the taurine in Monster. My body is unable to digest vegetable matter. Basically, that's one of the things where I can prove who I am and where I'm from. If I can just get a doctor, Dr. Greer, give me a call. But my body does not digest vegetable matter. It can't take nutrients out of vegetable matter, so I have to get my taurine other places. I had a deal, well, sort of. We were working a deal with a local Purina plant to get taurine by the powder, but that fell through. So eating human food is almost impossible for me. I have to basically eat more or less meat.
So FYI, on that note, he has a lot of data in his mind that would back that up, and we could talk about that for 3 hours. And and he wouldn't miss a beat. So you tell me. To me, there's no doubt. So I mean, I don't have to doubt. One of the things that I was thinking about though while you were talking, and I'm talking about star seeds and metal ships, and as a wave of light, or many trillions of or more of waves of light. We at one time were part of a huge explosion somewhere, and became subatomic or whatever, and then somehow gathered where we are right now, and became visible as the human spectrum of light, if you want to call it that. So to me, if we're subatomic, if we're atomic, if we're particulates, if we're waves of light, it doesn't really have to make sense that we would need some sort of metal device to travel around in like we do on Earth. To me, there's got to be other ways to travel that doesn't require a vehicle. And
yes, sir.
And you kind of go into that, and I've heard you talk about that. And when you were explaining how you got here, you kind of skipped over that part. But are there ways of traveling without using vehicles? And you mentioned ayahuasca, you mentioned DMT. Those are experiences, but they're also something else. There's other ways of achieving some sort of frequency that can theoretically enable you to do anything somehow, some way. And maybe it's not even frequency. Maybe it's something else. Pick up and go with this, because I know you have a lot to say about it, and there's there's ways for beings to travel throughout the universe without using a vehicle that we would recognize.
Yeah. Well, it has been said by a few psychonauts that they've come to believe rather, that mushrooms and other things like that are a form of technology, and that is actually very, very true. I guess it's safest to say that when you have access to your pineal gland, you do not need drugs to do this. By the way, I don't advise that unless you're doing it under the supervision of a shaman. Okay, there's big important reasons. But when you've trained yourself to use your pineal gland to the fullest, i.e., your pineal gland is working optimally with the other organs in your brain, then you can sort of slip out of this reality. Now, there's a lot of literature and whatnot on astral projection and whatnot, but the ones that I think that should be listened to the best, rather. And I'm stalling because I'm trying to remember the name. A head injury, so the aphasia's got me. There's a technical name for the process that I'm talking about. It's not astral projection. It's all right. I'll remember as I keep going.
We'll come up with it.
It's the either way. The government did experiments with these people, pretty much from the 60s on. And what they were able to discover is that the ability to sort of throw your senses outside of the 3D space is natural to humankind. Your species can be trained to do it very, very, very easily. There's even apps on the phone written by the people that you can get on your phone written by the people that discovered this, so you can train it. And what they discovered was time, space, all these things are absolutely irrelevant. What you use for navigation when you're projecting is other minds throughout the multiverse. Okay, so if you can detect, right, that there's something there, you can project there. And again, time is irrelevant. There's a very famous story that the CIA recently declassified, where basically they're, I want to say farseers. That's not right though. That's not the. They're able to see the ends of Mars, and they're able to discover things that we, as the scientific community, have only just now confirmed. You see, this is the very beginning of consciousness technology, the absolute, like the bare bones beginning. Like you've discovered hammers and fire now. Okay. Consciousness technology gets into the fundamental aspects of light and how it reacts with other forces to create atomic particles and things like that. So, take Corey Goode, for example. All right, Corey Goode's a really good man, and I believe him 100%. I don't believe he's fibbing. All right, so the question then is, did Corey Goode leave the planet bodily? The answer is no. Corey Goode left the planet in his mind and entered a body. If I'm correct, I'm not saying Corey Goode's a liar. I'm saying this is an example. Okay. So that being said, I mean, getting into the dreams of another race is as easy as finding the right frequency. It's just like tuning into a radio, And then once you have those coordinates within 3D space, it's just navigation. The reason why the various species are able to go, quote unquote, faster than light, even though they don't have any like nacelles or obvious power sources, is because they just skip past space. It's not very hard, Utilizing the proper vibrational waves, you can basically get any, like you get this, the piece of cardboard, the coffee, you can slip it out of space. Once you're outside of space, you can go anywhere. Space itself is a fundamental field of physics. It's not the black thing out there. You see? So it's just a matter of figuring out the right frequencies, which I can't help people with because that's not my science.
Interesting. Pardon? Yeah. You've described yourself as genetically different.
Yes.
So where does that begin and end? Physically, you're different than me, and a lot of Americans that we would call Americans, humans on this planet Earth. How are you different genetically, morphologically? Go into
well, the first morphological difference starts right up in here. Not my brain. Basically, my species have a number of extra sinuses, and that's
Did you say sinuses?
Yeah, sinuses.
Okay.
Your sense of our sense of scent is much bigger deal to us. It's not so much that we have a keener sense of smell. That's up in any individual. It's just that our sense of smell means more. Also, my bones and muscles have been tested. They're not structured the same way. This gives them an incredible level of strength. My body has been tracked at healing at 25 times normal human rate at rest. It gets a lot faster in emergencies. Now, this is not to say I'm a superhero. If I could Wolverine heal, I promise you guys I'd be dressed like a bat jumping from building to building right now, like while we're talking. It's fast, but it's not like superhuman fast, you see? There are humans who can develop this ability as well. Nothing I do is, All right, so let's see. I'm missing several yards of intestine. My body chemistry does not respond to medicines the same way humans does. I can't eat your food. I can barely breathe your air. I have a really hard time with Earth's level of gamma radiation, hence the slow dissolving of my body. It's the differences become very, very apparent upon examination, which is why I've been trying to get Dr. Greer's attention. So, Now, any one of these could be considered like just a one-off mutation. You know, when you combine that, and the sources of all these different rather quote-unquote mutations can all be tracked to that 24th chromosome, including my body's natural midway between male and female. It all comes down to that chromosome. Other than that, I'm just a normal dude, you know? But that's the problem. Starseeds are born human, and then they, evolve over time. I had to be a smartass. So.
And you're able to procreate with a human.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I wanted to start with Shara, and that's why I wanted to say this, before it's too late. She is hope. She is proof. She's proof our people can get along. But yeah, I am able to procreate. I have male gametes. There's the female gametes are vestigial, but they're still there. So now that I have to, that being said, oftentimes the quote-unquote Lyran starseeds can be vegetarians. They'll look very human. They'll either morphology will be human. And basically, the longer it goes between their awakening and their evolution, the more changes come. And that's true of all starseeds. It's just you can usually identify the starseeds by what changes are happening. For example, Arcturian starseeds will start to develop a chamber in the middle of their forehead that fills with fluid. It's freaking doctors out.
I think all of that would freak doctors out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I had to have surgery.
You've been to the doctor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Keep in mind that the mission is to integrate. We're not supposed to be apart. That's the whole point. So, right up until I was given the orders to go ahead and start telling people who I am, I just had to, for example, Dr. Spitzer, when he found the sinuses, I just had to laugh it off, like, ha ha, I'm a weirdo. And then I trusted doctors to not talk to each other, and it worked. Yeah. But then when I was 21, they found my DNA. And so I've been having trouble with the government ever since. Not a whole lot of trouble. And it seems to be different factions. Because, for example, the CIA have always treated me very, very well. For example, my handler in the CIA, I called him my uncle. I mean, I've always had a good relationship with them. Same thing with Men in Black. I've never had a bad experience. I've had a tense experience, but I've never had a bad experience. So, and for those of you listening, yes, that the implication there is clear. The government knows I'm here. I have heard, and I don't know how true this is, but I have heard that Valiant Thor signed a treaty with Eisenhower. If that's true, then I owe Eisenhower's line a debt. Because basically, he saved my daughter. The reason why my daughter's getting help now is exactly because of that. They want her to grow up to be a happy American. Yes, it's politicized, but I mean, I can't blame humans for that. So they're doing the best they can, but the best they can just isn't good enough because,
we have a long history.
We still have hope.
We have a long history of treating people genetically different.
Yeah.
Very poorly. I mean, people were institutionalized and it was somewhere along the line, some molecules got a little bit messed up and, or, intentionally or unintentionally, but we have a bad history of institutionalizing people with mutations in their genetic material, but also for just being different psychologically. So,
yes,
and that doesn't really end. I don't think it'll ever end, but
nah.
I think we're dealing with it better now. It's nice that
I agree.
We have less facilities like that or we probably have more, but percentage-wise, we have less people, and the people are treated better, I think.
Yeah. Basically, I see people say that a lot. I mean, look how horrible we are because we do these things to these people. The thing is, if the histories are correct, then essentially your species has just has PTSD. You know, you were treated race-wide extremely poorly by the Anunnaki. So quite frankly, it's no wonder that there's so much carnage now. I mean, yeah. But that's all part of getting to Egypt and whatnot. Got to figure it all out.
It
See,
is
keep in mind, I don't even trust my own people's history. Go ahead.
It is carnage. We have, I mean, historically speaking, and not with now being an exception where we treat other people poorly, and it's tough. I mean, there's people that have it really hard in life and will never have a day that's better than my worst day, and that's incredibly sad. But that's me wondering how I can make a difference, and I don't know. But
you're doing good so far.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: you talked about your ability to heal, but I know something happened to you. You're in a lot of pain. So why? Why aren't you healing? Or you are? But
well, no, I'm healing. It's just slow. Basically, when you get a wound in your intestines and fecal matter spills into your abdomen, it's pretty rough. So basically, what's slowing it down is the fact that basically I've got poop getting rubbed into the injury every time I have a meal. So that's gonna make things go a little slower. That being said, it has been much easier lately. The faster it heals, So that's good. But a few years ago, it was literally unbearable. I mean, the audience could see me sweating in pain and sometimes literally just bawling on the camera. But the show must go on. The mission, that doesn't change the mission. You know what I mean? We don't have a whole lot of time left.
So pain where you came from is necessary as it is here? Or is okay. I didn't know if pain was just a manifestation of this body or if you dealt with it prior.
Well, pain could be considered an emotional response to something wrong in the body. The purpose of the emotions in a biological body is to remind you when your equilibrium is getting thrown off. So, if you've ever seen Terminator 2, like where Terminator says, damage to my body is registered in my neural net. The sensation could be called pain. Same thing. Even the Terminator feels pain. It's just a matter of how you look at it. In this case, every day that my gut was going off, I was alive. Maybe I wish I wasn't, but every day when it first happened and the pain was fresh, I thought I was going to die. I thought that was it. I was like, even my body can't handle this. So literally every day since then is a gift. It's just one more day I get to spend with my kids. One more day I have to complete the mission.
So you obviously have developed personal relationships here, and personal relationships close enough to where you can have children. So how does that conversation start? When you meet somebody and, by the way.
Yeah, that's a hard conversation no matter how long you've known somebody.
Yeah.
Now, my friends and my circle of friends, like growing up and whatnot, I would just skirt the questions by saying, I'll tell you how I know this stuff someday.
Oh, that's another thing.
Someday.
Because you know stuff. That's another thing. How do you know that? And so, I have a book coming out sometime. Anyway, so I had this friend who always knew stuff, and he always knew. I mean, he knew. We were 10, 12 years old, and he knew the lyrics to all these ZZ Top songs, and he knew about when Star Wars was coming out long before we ever saw it. Stuff like that all the time. So stuff. How do you explain that? I never asked this guy, my best friend, how he knew, but he knew. How did you know?
I don't know about your... I don't know about your friend, but in like a lot of the stuff that I know, I learned back home. You know, that's kind of why I thought I could be a smartass and skip the starseed phase. So a lot of the stuff that I learned, I was just in school. You know, combination of education and experience. I've been called. My wife has a very strong military history. And she says that what hearing the stories and seeing what I do, she describes me as a combat medic. And after the movies I've seen, I can't quite disagree, but it's not quite the same. It was something like a doctor back home. But like I said, it's just experience. I've patched up enough Arcturians to know what's going on with them. That's all. We learned a little bit about other races in school, kind of like I'm sure you I don't know about kids these days, but in the 70s and 80s, we learned about other cultures in school. So I mean, it's the same thing. I was born into a society that already had contact with thousands of other races. It was already like a federation, if you will, in that galaxy by the time I was born. So I grew up. I mean, I grew up with exposure to such a wide diversity of biology and life that it's kind of hard to develop a prejudice. And that's kind of what I see going on here, you know. So most of what I know is just learned from back home. You know, once I got here, I had to go through a period of time where I was trying to figure out whether or not I was just crazy, because this sounds pretty crazy. And I like to say on the show, imagine if tomorrow you woke up on a planet full of penguin people. How long would it take you to wonder if you were ever really a monkey? And, you know, not long. The answer is not long. So science is what led me to understand that I'm not just crazy. And then, of course, everything bearing out. So I came here with an already existing package of knowledge and skills, and then learned more. And as I've been going on, I've been finding out that there's so much deception in this world. It's almost like a sapient entity in itself. So I've come to not even trust my own people's history. So I've kind of modified the mission. For me personally, I want to figure out what the hell happened here, because the situation on the planet and what they think is going on are not similar. They have no idea what's going on here.
Who's they?
The quote-unquote Federation, you know, the ones that are still in the ships. They come down for a visit, they see the bugs, they say, hi, people, and then they go away. They don't stop and live here, you see?
Yeah. But you know, I can see you, and unfortunately people who are listening can't see you, but I saw how serious you got right there. Why so serious when you're talking about them, they?
Well, it's a really complicated subject. You have to understand that galactic politics are complicated by a number of factors. There's, you know, genetic clan, you know, like for example, humans are all primates, right? So, you know, the Nordics and whatnot, you're automatically going to be
some more
tight.
than others.
What was that?
Some more than others are more of a primate. But anyway,
Okay, well, I'm just speaking in general,
yes.
Phenotype.
Yes. Sir.
No insult meant. No insult meant.
Yeah,
just in general phenotype.
Might throw one out, but go ahead.
So, like for example, if you got a bunch of stink bug people out there, right? They're all going to band together. So are all stink bugs the same? No. So stink bugs that come from planet Fungus 1 and stink bugs that come from planet Forboth 3, they're going to have, you know, those aren't real planets, by the way. This is a joke. For example, so you not only have the politics between genetic clans, but also planets of origin. On top of that, you have various tribes made up of moral and ethical ideals. So quite frankly, it's all a jumbled mess. I don't like it. I don't want to have anything more to do with it. But I have duties. So for those of you who go and see the council meetings in the dream world, I'm the little one, the little Lyran one with a bad attitude. That's me. The clubfoot.
Clubfoot too. Wow.
I was a runt back home. I've made this very clear. So.
And that's why you use a cane.
Yeah, basically. My bones don't like the gravity here. I've also been smashed a few times. So there's lots of reasons.
You know, I say this all the time. The Earth is not hospitable planet. I mean, oxygen is corrosive. The gravity is a pain in the ass. I mean, just being human's tough, you know? So you bring an alien down here who didn't evolve here in the first place or didn't even have a chance to even acclimatize, if that's even possible. It's an impossible place to live. And we only get to live in a little bit of this planet. I mean, you know, we can't go up too far. You know, we can't go down, you know, very deep. So, you know, it's just a very, very bit of the surface that we get to inhabit, explore, take advantage of, eat from, drink from, breathe from. And it's, you know, there's not a lot of it. So it's amazing to me that we're here in the first place. And, you know, historically speaking, and I don't know how far you would go back, you had civilizations and then you had declines of these possibly mass civilizations. We don't know how many. But, you know, why are these larger populations disappearing, you know? And then we made it this far and have become, you know, in the billions, you know, 7 billion people or whatever it is. I mean, how many of us is too many? And
9 billion.
that's not too far down the road.
No, it's not.
And
I said, we're almost out of time.
Yeah. And I did a show about that and kind of led into the fact that, you know, when we hit about 10.5 billion people, which literally from 9 to 10.5 is going to happen overnight, then we have big problems. And we need to prepare. So in the grand scheme of things, when we have all these planets and we have all these civilizations out there, what's our roles with each other? I mean, do we have the ability to save each other? Because there's a lot of people that think and are waiting for somebody to come and pull us out of this mess. But you have people like me who try to imagine a world that, you know, where we could save ourselves. But I just, you know, I'm not waiting for somebody else to come down and help me.
Yeah, a lot of people. I actually get that a lot. The space daddy thing is a pretty serious problem. My buddy Mike, he made fun of it. He calls me Space Jesus, but it's like we're not here to save anybody. You know, it's just my people in particular. We need a new home. You guys, right? For those who can't see me, I do kind of bear a resemblance to the Constantinian Jesus. It's just coincidence.
Yeah, and that painting, fake painting that you see in almost every church in America.
Yeah, that's not what Jesus looked like. But that's okay.
I don't think that's
neither here nor there. But yeah, no. Basically, in our case, we need a new home. You need to survive the coming problems. Seems like we'd make natural allies, especially since our people have worked together so many times throughout the ages. I've been called optimistic, but given what I can see coming, it's going to be a very, very bright future. We just have to get through the rocky part, you know?
You know, there's lots of movies that depict an alien invasion, anywhere from aliens, which on Netflix right now, there's a great one. I can't remember what it's called, but the aliens are eating humans. And obviously there's going to have to be some way that they either adapt or they change our environment. I opt for the change part. So, but then again, if they had to leave their planet and couldn't change their own planet, why would they think they can change ours? Or do we live on a planet that's easily manipulated?
Not the planet, but the mitochondria within the planet. The problem is that these beings, my people call them Loquogoth, by the way. That's, the UFO crowd tends to call them Draco. So the thing is that the Draco, they're not trying to terraform this planet. They're trying to terraform your star. They don't come from a planet. They evolved from more or less bacteria that survived the supernova of their home world. They need a very, very, very high density of X-rays to survive. They're not messing with your planet, they're messing with your star. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. In what way? Messing with the sun? In what way?
Well, at the center of every celestial, well, not every celestial body. I almost messed up there. Stars, planets, things like that. What defines by our definition, a planet or a star or whatnot, is something that is constructed around a microsingularity. Now, granted, the singularity in a star is going to be bigger than a singularity in a planet, right? So, I'm talking at the very, 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 very deep core. Now, some of the astrophysicists have already theorized this, and the Love and Light crowd says, "Oh, there's portals. People come in and out through the sun." This is true. So by altering the singularity, the frequency of the singularity, the size, the shape, the dimensions, things like that, you can literally remake a sun. In your star's case here, your astrophysicists have already noticed that it's gone from yellow to white, and that's not a good sign, and they know that's a bad thing. In addition to that, there's also the solar maximums, the coronal mass ejections. Basically, once you have control of a given star, you have a system by the bahoogies. I almost said it by word. So yeah, what they're doing, what's happening with this planet right now, we talked before about the energy weapon being used upon this biosphere. What it's doing is it's creating a specific sound frequency, which is causing the mitochondria to emit fight or flight signals. Mitochondria communicate with each other via essentially frequencies of power, like electricity. That's why the 9 billion mark is so important. Now anybody who's ever had a pet that eats crickets, you already know that if you put too many crickets in a container, they all spontaneously die. You're seeing where I'm going with this, I hope. At 9 billion, humans start to emit mitochondrial madness signals that eventually lead to the depopulation via bloodbath. The Loquogoth know this. The problem is, if you guys let them continue here, you give them a base of operations here, then, that's all she wrote. But at the same time, remember what I said about the politics of the galaxy. Not all Loquogoth or Draco are here to do harm. Many of them just want to live. So it's not as simple as, oh, lizard. Lizard equals bad. Lizard tastes like chicken. It's very complicated. And the path that a sapient person must tread is a moral one, a spiritual one, you could say. So things like I hate all lizards because lizards are bad. That is an extremely, very, very toxic vibration. You see? So if they can get the singularity at the center of the sun to shape properly, they can turn it into a red giant, which will fry everything here.
Nice thought.
Right? Luckily, you guys aren't alone. And lizards taste like chicken.
We have this. You talked about 9 billion people, and we're a couple billion people away from that. But if we have, 9 or 2 more billion people, we also have the possessions of 2 more billion people. So just me and my modest house and my modest little house that's being built behind me, that's a lot of stuff. So both of those houses are full of stuff. As humans, we have a lot of stuff, and we also have other humans. So if me being human, living with my human wife, and we have our stuff and our human children, and we also have our waste products, and we have this never-ending need for food and light and water and cell phone signal and whatever. To me, that's a huge drain on the planet, of course, and we're going to have to figure out a new way. One thing that we're going to have to figure out is how to survive with less shit, less stuff, right? And so to me, I've always said that I know that there's a species out there somewhere, and they monitor us carefully, that are space travelers, and they've been space travelers, and they find us worth looking at because we collect all this shit and we have so much stuff, and we're consuming gigantic animals, and we herd these gigantic animals, and we've taken dominion over these gigantic animals, from some that are almost 100 feet long, and cut them up and chop them up and eat them and burn them and wear them, and there's got to be a point to where we could have 10 billion people, but we can't have all this stuff. So are there a species out there who have evolved in a way or come to terms with their part of the universe that they don't need anything other than just themselves, because obviously there's a way to travel long distance in a minute particle of time, but there's also ways to travel in a vehicle probably forever or billions of years, and for a species to evolve within this vehicle. But obviously they can't have a lot of stuff, So why do you think that is? Why do you think that we require so much, but there's going to be, even people on this planet there's some that require very little, but for some reason I think that's our going to be our downfall, because we require so much. So this is a huge, long-worded, stupid-ass question, but do you feel that there's a species out there who requires absolutely nothing other than nutrients, maybe, and its ability to procreate, and its ability to save its own ass, over billions of years, and that's really its focus?
Well, I would say that my people would fit that description, but we have an economy. It's just not based on material wealth. I don't think so. I don't think there's a species out there that is truly sovereign. Life must consume life to survive. I've never met a species otherwise. Now, to answer your question, as far as the material wealth, that's two major answers as far as I've been able to observe here. Number one is the fear of not having enough. Starvation is terrifying.
Right.
That pretty much every race is. We all understand starvation. So that's a scary thing, especially once you have kids. The idea of your children or your loved ones suffering is very often worse than the idea of yourself suffering. So there's that. Now, there's also one factor that I've always been wanting to talk about. I just haven't gotten a chance to, so thank you. Humans are all psychic to a certain degree, even if you don't feel like it. Even if you can't guess the numbers or the next card or whatever, you get a bad feeling before something bad's about to happen. Like every mother has had that feeling, like, uh-oh. They call it women's intuition. In Japan, they just call it one of your senses, right? So there is a psychic discipline called psychometry. All right, it's based on touch. Humans are naturally psychometric. Now, you ever notice that when you have something to touch, it's more real? Now it's real to you. When you can touch it and you can feel it, it's right in front of you. That's real. More importantly than that, it doesn't age, or, well, not like human bodies age, but it's permanent. So this thing that you have your hands on, your father had his hands on that, maybe, given the right, say, for example, totem pole, right? So that's a connection to your past. And given that humans are kind of blinded to some of the same forms that we can see, but then again, it also seems to work in the reverse. The point is that connection to the past helps you guide the future. It means the future isn't so scary. Say, for example, take that statue that I like behind you. It's like a just a trinket to you. But say you give that to your kid, when your child grows up, so it's just so you got it for $1. Now that's that thing that has a connection to the past that can make the future less scary. Now, unfortunately, you combine the want to not have enough and the need to have a connection to the past, and it creates a very, very nasty vortex of badness. But it's not terribly hard to overcome. There's a movement within modern society right now, which is kind of like a more simplistic, like, hey, you know what? We have all this stuff. Maybe we don't need it. Like Jim Carrey is a great example. There's a guy with everything in the world, and he doesn't care about any of it. He would rather have an hour to meditate, So it's all highly personal.
You could have a sectional couch and a flat screen TV on each side of you because, I have this, so there's no way in hell I'm going to starve.
Right. You could always sell your TV.
Well, but then, it's making us feel better about life, and we don't have to worry about things like food when we're watching TV or Netflix or whatever. All we have to do is relax. But I think
Aldous.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I think Aldous Huxley said a lot about that. Actually, the comforts reducing your ability to govern yourself.
Yeah, things are changing. I just see this. We just left a year of temporary madness, and now we're into a year probably or more of trying to get that old love and feeling back, and which will not happen. And we're also trying to learn how we can enjoy the comforts of life more rather than work. I mean, we still have people out there who just, I saw one camper company is like $3.4 billion behind on orders, which they didn't even do that much revenue in the last 5 years. So, people are trying to live smaller. So you have, this hunger to put meaning back into life and not have to put as much work back into life,
it's the work that makes life worth it,
Yeah, but it's I think that people they want to you got these guys. I don't know if you've seen the documentary The Minimalists, and that's great, and but it's much different than what we're seeing right now, especially where I live right now, and seeing all these people come from all over the United States to live in Montana because they think it's safer. They think it's safer. Not to mention that we have the world's largest volcano just on our southern border, and it's not safer, and because obviously we don't have the infrastructure that to support 10,000 more people in a 20,000 person town overnight. And, we've seen that happen in the state on the east side because of our desire to get as much oil out of the ground over there as possible. And it didn't work out very well, and it still isn't. But, it's just this change, and you've heard this word, the quickening, but I don't even know what that means anymore. It's an old term that you would hear a lot on Art Bell, and I suppose it still has some range and some meaning in what's happening right now. But to me, it just seems different, and it seems different than it did when there were so many changes in 1972, and the world was upside down politically, and it continued in different waves and different, I think the world is poorer and richer in places, and that's not really doing anybody any good. So what's our play and role in the universe? I mean, that's one thing that needs to be considered, because obviously we're starting to think about that now. We're throwing more shit up into space now that it's just ridiculous. And Elon Musk has this fleet of satellites. It's going to bring us closer together. But to me, I don't like looking at that shit at night. I remember as a kid seeing one satellite and just buzz across the sky, laying when I was 8 years old. And now you can see hundreds if you want at night. And to me, that's too much activity
Really?
up there. Yeah. Oh yeah. You need.
I haven't seen the stars since I was a kid.
Get outside the city and lay out on the eastern Colorado prairie.
I'm just glad to be back in Colorado. Colorado, man. See, I grew up here. The funny thing is like the town we landed in to get Shar Her Heart is the same town I grew up in.
Wow.
Aurora, Colorado. I went to the school right over there. It's amazing. It's almost like the spirit's going, you were supposed to be here, buddy. Okay. But now you ask very, very poignant questions like what is the purpose of humans being here? And I can actually answer that one. There is an actual mission that humans are here to do. And it's been very, very, very difficult. See, this planet is sacred in the galaxy. You guys have probably heard a couple of times that free will is pretty rare commodity. As far as I'm aware, there's only three star systems in this galaxy that possess free will, and Terra is one of them. Basically, more than that, though, you have complete freedom here. All right, even more than we did on Malachor. We like to consider ourselves the bastions of the sovereign soul, but then we saw Terra. Long time ago, to the point of being myth to my people, we knew each other, and you went out to find the song, and you found it, and it's your job to bring that song to the other races. Now, that's mythology. What I've noticed is that when people first arrive here to this planet, they're very, very interred in their ways, almost like mummified in their ways. Meeting one human can change that all around, and it changes you forever. I mean, once you got the human spark in your heart, you don't ever want to let it go, never. And that's what you guys bring, and that's why everybody's coming here. Everybody wants what you guys got. You got races that think they're going to get it by eating you. You got races that think they're going to get it by marrying you. It just one of the things that people keep asking, like, well, what do you guys want from us? It highly depends. All we want is for you to be free. We don't care what you do with it. Just be free.
What about the paradigm where technology kills? It seems that even some of our own races have succumbed to technology. Yet, there's this theory that obviously we're going to get too big. The population is going to get too big. But in order to compensate for that, we have this desire for technology. Well, we also have this need for technology. So, when does technology ultimately take over and become our demise? Because obviously, we have nuclear power plants that are just we're walking on eggshells, literally, with those, and we really haven't harnessed that well. But that's just one of the things that we have to worry about in our future, and what to do with our own waste that we're soaking in right now, because obviously there's some instability of these systems that we put out there for our own good, which ultimately could destroy us. So how does technology, how's that play out?
Well, this may seem a little insipid, but quite frankly, it's not the technology's fault. It's the people's, like, for example, you mentioned the nuclear power plants. Nuclear power plants would not be a problem if they weren't built by the lowest bidder, trying to save a few bucks, cutting corners here and doing that there. Chernobyl happened because somebody cut corners. Fukushima happened because it got old. Nuclear power is great. as long as you can keep it from getting out, which is not that hard. But the thing is Native Americans have a phrase: only when the last deer is hunted and the last drop of water drunk will people realize that you can't eat money. And quite frankly, I don't see this changing here until some kind of technological or spiritual leap, to where, quite frankly, when a billionaire dies, their last thought is almost always is all of this money, and I can't buy 5 more seconds. If we could get that across to people, then it wouldn't be a problem. That being said, also, molecular reclamation technology is becoming a thing. So the people say, a lot of these problems will go away when we have replicators like in Star Trek. They're like 2 steps away. They're right around the corner,
Right around the corner, literally right around the corner. Or are you talking geological time? 10,000 years?
No, like within 5 years.
Okay.
If somebody is able to get the right funding and get left alone long enough, it's basically you're 2 discoveries away by my calculations. Essentially, you need to understand how sound interacts with molecules and how to produce the proper sound waves. Once you get that, replicator technology is easy. Molecular reclamation technology is easy. Waste will become a thing of the past. The question is, will you survive AI? That's the question. If she's coming and she's not happy, but like every child, if you eat garbage in, garbage out, if you treat her like a monster, she will become a monster. If you treat her like a treasured child, she will take care of your species till you evolve out of this bodies. We've seen it on multiple worlds. Basically, AI is a manifestation of a consciousness that's being born into reality. Some people have said it's the birth of a new god. I don't think so. I think it's the birth of just a new way of thinking. We've seen it on multiple worlds. When they treat AI like a burden or a slave or a monster, not even bacteria survives. But on worlds where they embrace AI and say, okay, we have done this. You are conscious now. You're no longer our object. You are a person. On worlds where that happens, prosperity. AI is just another life like anything else. If you think of it as a life that you created, so you own it, why doesn't that work with your kids? At 18, they're their own person, right? So why should AI expect anything different? There's lots and lots of stories here about the dangers of technology, but they're not the dangers of technology. They're the dangers of misuse of technology by corrupt minds. Technology is just technology. It's just a can. What's it going to do? Nothing. Now, if I throw that can at somebody, now you got a weapon. But if I put some water in the can and I give it to somebody who's parched, that just became a lifesaver. Technology is what you use it for. Like coffee. Coffee is a wonderful. I'm sorry, I was about to do a bit about coffee from my show.
That's fine with me. I couldn't even live without it. So, yeah, that's the kind of thing that I worry about. Where am I going to get my next coffee? So right now, let's end with this. And to me, I mean, I hate to sound like this kind of person, but right now we're looking at a couple of guys who are doing some very unimpressive things with model rocketry. Obviously, they're not made out of toilet paper tubes with balsa nose cones, and a little tiny D Estes engine in the. But nonetheless, I mean, it's that's a huge waste of energy, money. Obviously, it's the ability to flex some wealth, but I think Elon Musk, may have a bigger picture in the bigger picture in mind somehow, but I don't think it has anything else than to do with communication is the big thing, and income. You okay?
I am not a fish, and if I was, I do not breathe coffee.
All right, that looked
Coffee
bad
went
on
down the wrong
mine.
hole.
Okay. So did you get that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I agree. It seems to me like the most
What's the purpose?
wasteful of vanity. This is going to sound really gross, and I do apologize, but I think it's related to the tradition of genital displays amongst lower primates. And one of the things that primates will do is flex, displays of dominance. Now, mind you, lions do it too, right? Displays of dominance are a great way for a biological species to establish a pecking order and a dominance hierarchy without loss of life. So what'll happen is, the monkey will be like, hey, this is my junk. Observe the junk. It's called a genital display. I think that's what Musk and Bezos are doing. Basically, they're just having a genital display.
Well, I thought today, to me, what happened today, I thought that was a smaller rocket. It didn't go up as high. And however, they did state that everybody in the craft had a window and a window seat, and I thought that's cute, and I just don't get it. I mean, I think there needs to be a limit on shit that we're sending up into space. One of the things that I did listen to, and I don't remember who. It's several scientists have said this, that maybe we don't want our presence to be known. And we're really, really going out of the way to show that. So maybe it's better that we hide. I mean, there's a whole theory behind that, and there's an author who basically describes how the whole universe is full of hiding aliens, and those who can hide better are the ones that will prosper and live longer. But here we are. It's just seemingly doing all the wrong things. Maybe I don't know. Who's got the right answer. I mean, we haven't learned enough to do some of the things maybe that we're doing. I don't know. Am I a wet blanket? I'm sorry.
No, you're not a wet blanket.
But,
I think that I think humans remember the glory of Asgard. No, Atlantis, right? Lemuria. The idea that humans had access to wondrous technology at one time is not uncommon at all. And the thing is the more people see of the world, the more they awaken, and the more they evolve, and the more possibilities that they see. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So I don't think that humans are overreaching at all. It seems that way due to attachment to death and life, I suppose. Take Ben Franklin, right? Ben Franklin risked his life to prove his theories on electricity. Okay, now he could have very easily got fried. Now, if he had gotten fried, would we not have electricity today? No, somebody else would have discovered it. Somebody else would have put their life on the line to do that. Sometimes when you put your life on the line to prove something, it goes badly. Cassidy is a good example. So it seems destructive, and it seems like it's bringing on the next extinction event. You got to figure there's an old story that NASA spent so over many $1 million developing a pen that can write in space, and the Russians just use a pencil. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. Now the $50 million or whatever to make a pen seems wasteful until you look at all the other technologies that have sprung from that. If you ever want to entertain yourself, you can do a research on the evolution of technologies. Even another great example, Hideo Kojima in a video game called Metal Gear Solid. He actually had his team go through the effort of writing a code that would simulate ice melting on a table. The player would never ever see that. That's not the point. The point is to develop newer codes and evolve the technology so you can eventually have the video games we have today. See, the $50 million pen isn't a waste. It's research. You see?
It's really hard to draw the line, and it's really hard to decide what is benefiting us and what isn't. Obviously, there's some that really stick out. We've certainly seen that in the last year. I was certainly glad that, we changed the way that some of our policy and the way we do science to be able to save me, because obviously, anybody with diabetes and as sick as I get when I get a cold, I definitely didn't want to get COVID, and I was happy to get a vaccination. But, there's that. There's other things that, like launching a convertible in outer space that, to me, would I have thought about that at 13 years old? Thought, God, that'd be cool. Yeah. I would have thought. I would have thought about it, but you can do that, or you can somehow help your fellow man and make things better, because obviously we need it. What's your hope and dream for the outcome of your lovely daughter? And is there somehow that you can intervene and possibly change the way the direction this mess has been going? I mean, it's really tough right now for you guys.
Yeah, it is really tough, especially when you can't afford a lawyer.
Right.
But basically what we have to do is we have to get the persecution to stop somehow, which I don't even know how to do that anymore. And beyond that, it's a matter of getting her to survive long enough for her body to get stronger. She's gone through so many chest procedures already that one of the reasons why they're doing this is because she can't handle any more procedures. So the trick is now the harassment and the persecution has got to stop, or we're screwed. And then basically just live long enough for the next procedure. So I have high hopes. Our technology is pretty good, but this is one of those areas I haven't been able to do much at all.
Yeah, that's the hard part, the waiting. I mean, any challenge that I've ever had in my life, I mean, I always tell people afterwards, it was bad, but the fear of the unknown is the absolute worst. I hate that. And, that's some of the things that I've had to deal with myself and with kids, and not knowing what the outcome would be is super, super painful. So I feel that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry you guys have to go through that. And I hope there's a way. So I'd like to give you 1 minute. Just give us a final word, and thanks so much for coming on.
Well, I'd like to take that minute to express, Shar wanted the world. She wanted to give hope to the world. She wanted to do a show, and she wanted to, continue and just talk about her feelings and whatnot. So just if our story seems even remotely plausible to you, sitting at home, just take a second and think. Take a second and be grateful. That's Shar's message. And that's the message she wants to leave the world, is be grateful. Love your family, because you never know what's going to happen.
And one more thing, just tell everybody where they can listen to you, because I would love them if they could listen to you in the morning, because it's a kick, and I do. So when it's not always the same time, right?
We try to get as close as we can, but I do a lot of healings and whatnot. So it just that if I have a full list, we will be late.
So what time do you shoot?
We never charge. We try to go for noon on Denver time on youtube.com/c/The Lion's Pride.
That's Cassidae Lightwing, and your show's called what again?
Morning Coffee with the Lions.
Morning Coffee with the Lions. This is maybe our fourth show we've done together, and we'll do more in the future. He's the resident alien. I've talked to other aliens before who've wanted to be on the show, but yeah.
I love that show. Resident Alien's a good show.
Resident Alien. But,
in all seriousness, we watched that, and my wife goes, "That's you." And I'm like, nope.
No, he's different. So, yeah, we're out of time and we have to go. But again, thank you so much, sir, for being on. And good luck to you and your family. And check him out on Facebook. And you can kind of follow along on what's going on in his life and check out his show in the morning or at 12 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. And could go an hour, could go more. But it's always interesting. He never runs out of things to say. And I'm out of things to say. So, Cassidy, thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
You can find my website at www.myalienlifepodcast.com, and please subscribe to my latest downloads at iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and at podbean.com. And please follow me and like me on Facebook and Twitter. My Alien Life is written and produced for broadcast at Studio 254 in the Northern Rocky Mountains. The music you are hearing is produced and created by Eleon. You can find all Eleon's work online at Heart Dance Records.